All right, welcome to week 3 of our AI webinar series. So I'm Evan, I'm with Solve.Cloud. We help companies automate their businesses using AI with a focus on Salesforce and the Agentforce platform, but we're doing all kinds of things. So last week we talked about how to create a good bottom-up strategy, enable your users and your employees to use AI just to capitalize on all the little performance gains from using the tools that are available. This week, we're going to focus on creating a top-down strategy. What are the tools to build or buy that can enable you to level up in your automation? This is a question that we get all the time. It's just hard to choose between tools and hard to even know where to start in terms of looking for tools. There's so many tools out there. There's all this pressure to say use AI, adopt AI, that kind of thing. But it's really hard to know where to start. There's a lot of snake oil out there. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff. There's a lot of misunderstanding about what it can and can't do. So hopefully looking to demystify that. These webinars have the format of, we'll cover some AI news, and then we'll talk about a specific tool, and I'll show a demo of that. And then we'll jump into the content portion where we'll talk about that top-down strategy. So let's dive right in. I'll share my screen here. All right. Once again, working for Solved, and our whole business is about automating your business. The future is very automated. Companies that haven't adopted or started using AI yet are already behind, but that's a lot of people. There's some serious opportunities and some serious risks. So our goal is just to help with the change management portion, get you using AI to automate your business more and more. Today, we'll start out with some news. So, since last webinar 2 weeks ago, a ton has happened. Notably, though, we've got 2 new models. These are these are somewhat big step forward, a little bit less big than I think we were thinking they would be. But yeah, GPT-4.5 is a better model than GPT-4.0. We've been waiting for this for a while. It was sort of speculated that this would be as big of a jump as GPT-3 or 3.5 was. When GPT-4 came out, it was huge. Suddenly, it was much, much better at a lot of things. It wasn't that big of a jump in performance. We'll kind of open up the announcement, their website here. And I'm going to scroll down to some of the benchmarks. So you can see here we've got GPT-4.0. This is on the simple QA. Basically, how good is it at answering pretty simple questions? How accurate are those answers? And jump from 38% to 62%. That's good. And then hallucinations went down. So hallucinations are when the AI is confidently incorrect, when it tells you something as if it's true, but it's not true. That's one of the major problems with AI that's got to get sorted out. But you can see GPT-4.0 up here on this specific benchmark at 61%. And so there was a decrease in hallucinations. Although you can see this is basically human testers giving the prompt to GPT-4.0 versus 4.5. How often did they prefer the prompt or the answer that GPT-4.5 gave? You can see it's more often, but not that much more often. It's not blowing people away. It's just a little bit more often that they'll prefer 4.5. They're showing specific benchmarks here, but across all of the benchmarks, what this is it's not a huge step forward. The marketing for this has been centered on vibes, that it feels better, that it sort of feels a little bit more emotionally intelligent. It's funnier, feels a little bit more natural to talk to, a little bit more nuanced in its responses. So all of this would be great. It's great to get a new model if it weren't so humongous and expensive. So this 4.5 is the result of scaling up the compute and the number of parameters in these models by a ton, 10 to 20 times what 4.0 was trained on. So it's extremely expensive. In order to get access to this model right now or even use it, you have to be on the $200 a month tier, and the API prices are insane. It's $150 per million tokens. So that's compared to today, some of the more expensive models are like $15 per million tokens. So yeah, really, really huge and expensive. They're on the fence on whether or not they even will provide access to this indefinitely. So does this mean that AI is like hit a wall in progress? Not really. So we'll hop back to, well, I guess to explain this succinctly, the reasoning models like O1, O3, more and more companies are starting to come out with reasoning models. That has a potential to take a big jump, and those are trained on top of existing models. So this 4.5, even though it's just a little bit better, a little bit more accurate, that could turn into huge steps forward when a reasoning model is trained on it. Also, it is also true that once you attain a certain level of intelligence with a model, you can use that model to train other models to be almost or just about as intelligent for a lot less. So you can expect this to get cheaper, and there'll be a guaranteed a cheaper version available at some point. And then reasoning models built on top of this that we could probably expect to be cheaper and like a lot smarter, potentially like more huge step forwards in terms of intelligence, but that hasn't come yet. So this is exciting potentially in the future, but for right now, not a whole bunch of new abilities unlocked by this model. All right, moving to Claude 3.7. This is Claude 3.7 Sonnet, by the way. So this is a reasoning model by Anthropic. So this is their first that is formally called a reasoning model. It has adjustable reasoning, meaning the default is that it just spits out an answer, and you can like move a little slider or otherwise set the amount of time that it should think about the answer, and you're going to get better, more accurate answers for tasks that maybe need a lot of thinking. So it's something where this is the first model where the user can set how long it thinks. And then you can expect it to be like more expensive, like via the API, it's going to just generate a lot more tokens if you have it set to thinking longer. So anyways, if you're building like custom solutions and that kind of thing, you can decide for these type of prompts or these type of tasks, I don't need it to think that much. For these, I need it to think more. And that's pretty cool. This isn't in the price range of GPT 4.5. It's in the price range of like regular AI models that we're used to working with now. In terms of benchmarks, it's very good. This is just as so you know what you're looking at. This is 3.7 Sonnet with no extended thinking, and then the leftmost column here is with maximum extended thinking. So it's definitely state of the art in all areas. We're getting into this weird time where like nobody can really evaluate it to the like fully in all areas because it's as smart as like a PhD in many like specific niche areas. So it's hard to evaluate. A lot of people are just talking about like the vibe of the model, which it's not that it like that actually does matter if you want something that's like more to direct and informative. So anyways, without getting down a huge rabbit hole of that, a lot of people like the vibe of Claude, all of the Claude models, and this seems to be consistent with that in that it's like pretty informative, pretty direct, and just feels sharp, feels like bright and intelligent. It's very difficult to explain that, and so to the degree to which you care about that, it seems consistent with the other Claude models. But where it really excels is coding. This is absolutely the state of the art and like really excellent coding performance, and it was specifically optimized to be a good coder, and especially when it's agentically coding, which we'll get to in a second, basically taking a task and executing multiple steps to get to completion of the task instead of just like a chat window where you're copying and pasting code, actually doing the coding. Anthropic, along with this model, did release a new tool called Claude Code, which you can run in the terminal where it'll do the coding for you. And we're going to look at a tool that does something similar here in just a second. So wrapping up the news section here, big steps forward and exciting new things. And as always, lots more to come. So summing up here, new reasoning model, very good, extremely good at coding. And also one thing I forgot to mention is it has a very, very long context window, which was a limiter for using it for coding tasks before. But, and it still is, but in all the coding work that I've done, I've never maxed out the context window. It's very long. This is the amount that it can hold in its memory at one time. Very huge. Also, you can go watch this model play Pokemon on Twitch, which is kind of cool. This is worth talking about, actually, because it seems silly that it's just playing a game, but watching it play, you do get a little bit more of a sense for, okay, this is where we're at. This is where AI is at in terms of its ability to make decisions. Real life is much more complicated than Pokemon, but that game or other games, any game, can serve as sort of a microcosm for human decision making, where you need to decide where to go, who to talk to in the game, what to do, and how to accomplish the goal of the game. So you get to kind of go see where AI is at. Spoiler alert, it's not great. It was stuck in a cave for 80 hours, but it got through the cave, and that's interesting. So it kind of lengthened my timeline a little bit on when I think all-powerful AGI is coming. So I was like, okay, we got a long way to go, but it's still cool to see, okay, what I'm looking at is a machine that's making decisions and getting through a game, and it's, anyways, kind of cool.